Hello and good evening and welcome to BoltBlitz Uncut. I'm your host, Booga Peters, joined by my producer and co-host, Taylor Bloom. It's the off season and here we are. Oh, wait, it's not quite there yet. Sorry, there is a Super Bowl to be played later this week. But
What Super Bowl?
I mean, nobody's paying a lot of attention. I'm glad you said that perfectly, Taylor. The Chargers off season obviously has already started, so to speak. And that being said, there's been a lot of news. It's been announced that we haven't really talked about a ton here on BoltBlitz Uncut. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have yet to do so, make sure to hit that like button and, of course, subscribe if you're brand new. Mike McDaniel, offensive coordinator, we're all excited. It took us long enough to hear the actual fact that he was going to be the OC, but it sounds like after further diagnosis that he actually was somebody who had agreed to it prior, or that's just lip service. We don't give a shit about that. We're just glad that McDaniel is the offensive coordinator of the Chargers, especially heading into what is a pivotal year for Justin Herbert. Taylor, when you look at McDaniel being hired as the offensive coordinator, and again, that pivotal year coming for number 10, that type of a marriage, that type of a relationship, what do you expect out of that? And should we all be ecstatic for what Justin Herbert finally has at offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think the Chargers went out and got literally the best offensive coordinator they could for Herbert in this offense. I think that it's going to be a fantastic year in 26 for Herbert. I can see him putting up numbers close to the second year, close to that 5,000 passing yard mark. I expect the run game to do great things. And also, I expect the hits to be limited on him as well going into this season, not being pressured as much, having on-script plays, get him in a rhythm, get things moving quickly, because as we've seen the past couple of years, it took a lot of time to get this offense into a rhythm. And I think the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, the front office, understood that, and they literally got the best offensive coordinator candidate out there, in my opinion, and made him a Charger. So I'm super excited about the hire. I can't wait until training camp starts. Like, I'm so excited to see this offense and all the weapons that the Chargers do have right now. I don't know how many they're going to sign in the offseason or what they're going to do in the draft, but just the weapons they have now to see what this offense could do is just, I'm just so stoked for it. And I can't wait for July to get here at this point.
Well, and it's an exciting year, I think, because as much as the Chargers and their fans probably understand, they didn't have a roster that was an 11-win roster that should make the playoffs. They didn't have an offensive line, especially after Slater and all went down, that would merit what one would consider to be a playoff-like team. Yet, that being said, they did sneak their way in there, and it wasn't the game that we all hoped for, of course. That being said, the hiring of McDaniel, it really re-energized this fan base. It was very unique in that the only thing that I saw that was just as agreeable among every single member of the Bolt fam, no matter who they were friends with or what affiliation they had via their crew, the only other time that I thought anybody agreed more was during the offseason of this past year when everyone said, man, this offensive interior line has got to be fucking different. The interior offensive line has got to be completely different. Everybody agreed with that too, and we saw what happened there.
Yep.
Now, fast forward to now, everybody loves the McDaniel hire. You and I do, of course. Let's talk about Omari and Hampton then. My favorite player in that draft class, as everybody's known, and they're fucking sick and tired of hearing about it. I don't book because that's just who I am. What he can do in that McDaniel offense. Yep. You saw what he did with Devon Achane, and then of course Raheem Mostert when he was still there with the Dolphins. Jalen Wright as well. I mean, there's a lot of output and serious opportunities for running backs where literally all he does is cheat the way that you attack the offensive line via setting up for the pass, yet just giving it, whether it's a counter or some type of counter tray, something off balance, anything to trick the defenders. McDaniel's really good at that. Oh, I don't know. Omari and Hampton's almost a perfect fit for that kind of thing. Am I finally going to get the payoff? Finally, like he's been there for 10 years. Am I going to get the payoff that I think that I should have seen him put out there had he stayed healthy? or should we kind of pump the brakes on Hampton's output this upcoming season?
No, I think he's going to be 1,000-yard rusher in 26. That's my guess, and I had mentioned on my prior episode I did. The big thing with him is just he needs to stay healthy. I mean, had that bad or that weird injury in the Washington game, then he rolled his ankle in the Texans game, and no one really caught it until he showed up in the injury report. I mean, we thought that it was just a precautionary thing to keep him out week 18, but it turned out to be something serious. So if he can stay healthy, he is going to be a monster. This might be the offense. I mean, Devin Achane, I think last year averaged 5.4 yards a carry.
A little different. So hold on, a little different speed variant.
Yeah, sure.
Achan, he's a low 4.3 guy, if not a high 4.2 guy. But that being said, Hampton's no slouch, and he's also one of these beasts.
He's huge.
First contact hit the ground guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of my favorite yards after contact players I've watched in a very long time. He reminds me of a lot of play. He reminds me of a Larry Johnson who used to play for, sadly, the Chiefs, and then for, I think it was a season, the Raiders. But he bounces off that first contact almost religiously, if you will. I look forward to what a McDaniel-led offense can do as far as him not having to do that as far as getting through the line of scrimmage, much less getting to the second level. Because if you watched Achane and you watch Mostert and you watch these running backs in that McDaniel offense, they're hitting these gaps, they're hitting these holes untouched a lot of times. And a guy like Hampton, you can touch him, you can hit him, especially if you hit him up high. He's most likely going to break that. I'm excited for him moving forward. We've talked enough offense, and we've got too many defensive people that are BoltBlitz Uncut fans. Chris O'Leary, the new defensive coordinator. A lot of Charger fans, myself included, were like, "Oh, Steve Klink's scale. That's the guy. That's the guy." I was excited. I would hope he would be an option. And then as soon as it was announced that Chris O'Leary was named the defensive coordinator, after everybody was through the shock and awe part, they just got to see every defender on the team get completely hyped on social media.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as it was announced, I saw Derwin James put out a tweet, Dayon put out a tweet, Tony Jefferson, Elijah Molden. So, like having those guys validate this hire that quickly, as Charger fans, we got to be bought into this hire. And I thought he had a phenomenal press conference yesterday as well.
He's fun. I think it's kind of interesting that when you look at Harbaugh, McDaniel, and O'Leary, a lot of there's this awesome ebb to McDaniel, and then right back to. It's going to be very interesting. I'm so jealous of everybody who's there in person. It's going to be an interesting 2026, and I'm excited for everything that we are going to be a part of when it comes to getting our asses out there too. Oh, here we go. There's Mr. Richie Farley. Appreciate you, brother. Love you, man. Hampton's stock in the McDaniel offense might be higher than my bank account, to be honest, this year. Hey, listen, everybody, again, my love for Hampton is obvious and all over the interwebs. But again, if he stays healthy, the things that he can do in this, where he's not just a one-cut guy, but he can also adjust and be patient. He's not necessarily known as the guy who's going to run into the backs of his linemen when they're actually solidifying the blocks that allow him to get to where he's supposed to go. I understand what people saw on tape from him during this season. And if you watch the Giants game against the Giants, even though the Chargers end up losing that game, Hampton was brilliant. And he had so many second and third attempts after contact that if you didn't understand and you don't understand what he's capable of doing, then that's on you. I can't really help you with that part, but that's all right too. What I can do to help you is you just got to keep tuning in, and we're here often. By the way, for those of you who missed us on Monday, it's because, Bert missed us on Monday. For those of you who are wondering who Bert is, that is Bert Grossman, former Chargers defensive lineman. He will be our new co-host every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific here on BoltBlitz Uncut. Bert will bring his incredibly amusing musings, if you will, because he's insane and fun. He's the only guest I've ever had. He will now be a co-host, but he's the only guest I've ever had. They had an animal give birth live on air while we were doing a show. He interrupted me while I can't even remember the stat. I think it was something about Anquan Bolden. And Bert says, Booga, shut up, shut up. I'm like, okay, okay. And you just hear this chicken start going crazy. Literally crazy. Hey, she gave birth. And I'm like, here we are. Welcome to BoltBlitz. I think it was BoltBlitz Live back then. I don't know what the fuck. We've been BoltBlitz everything here. But Bert will be our Monday co-host. Taylor, of course, is our Wednesday co-host. John Kegley will probably be joining us Thursday nights. And then we're just kind of putting this whole slate together and figuring out what the hell we're going to do for y'all and having a little fun with it. We've talked about McDaniel. We've talked about O'Leary. Let's talk about Tier Tart. The numbers are out.
Yep.
I kind of got out there and was a little rambunctious with how I felt about the way I thought the contract would look. And I thought it'd be kind of a more 2-year, $20 million deal, 10 a year. Turns out to be a little more than that. Like, for example, I thought that there'd be a 3rd-year option to get out. Yeah. No, it's what is it? $6 million the first year and 27, 11.9, and then 12 million on the back end with a possibility for 37.5 million. It's safe to say Tier Tart is somebody that Chargers fans should stay familiar with.
Yes. I mean, if you look at this year, his first 5 games out of the gate, he was phenomenal. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about the money. I know we have a ton of cap space this offseason, but I think it was a good sign by Joe Ortiz to get him back this early. I think that'd be one of the guys that Jesse Minter would have tried to poach and bring over to Baltimore. And I know a lot of Charger fans were scarred from last year with Poona Ford going over to the Rams. So I don't think the Chargers want to be in that same position again and make the same mistake they did last year. So they got that deal done earlier. But 3 years, $37 million. I'm cool with it. I think he earned it. He's played phenomenally well since he's come over to the Chargers. So I'm happy with it.
Well, and you nailed it too. I don't think the Bolt fam or the Chargers fans were ready to see Ford Part 2 happen again. And furthermore from that, if they would have allowed Tier Tart to hit the free agent market, the price tag, it doesn't stay at 3 years, $37.5 million.
Yep.
It's going up and up. He's not the same 5'11" Poona Ford. Tart's a big boy. Really excited to see what he can do. That being said, I think that not the majority of folks out there, but the Chargers still need a little help on the interior of the defensive line. Though I'm still a big fan of Jamari Caldwell. It would be nice to add, and not necessarily a blue chipper, but don't be surprised if the Chargers address both or either the interior defensive line or the edge rushing position within the first couple rounds.
Yep.
Because the Chargers' majority of needs right now are along the interior of the offensive line, and this is actually a very thick, if you will, heavy, high-graded, if you will, offensive line when it comes to the interior positions at both the guard spots and at center. You can get guys like Logan Jones here in the 4th and 5th round. I mean, there's a lot of options that are out there, and we're not going to oversaturate this portion of the show or necessarily this show with that. But for those of you who are just tuning in right now, thank you so much for doing so. This is BoltBlitz Uncut. I'm joined by my co-host, Taylor Bloom. Taylor, let's just do something for all those folks who are tuning in for the first time that maybe will endear them to you. Let's talk about some folks that we're not so concerned about whether or not they're going to be charged. Sure.
Fair enough.
Bradley Bozeman. Is he cut player number 1? And how necessary is that? And any chance of him coming back for the 26th season?
So I know that he is well respected. We talked about this, that he's well respected in that offensive line group. But they can save some money if they do cut him. And to your point, there's a lot of options in the draft this year. Also in free agency too. I really do think the Chargers are going to go after Tyler Lindenbaum. And if they don't, I think McGovern is a good second choice. So I can see them saving a couple million to cut him and move on and find someone else that is going to fit, in Mike McDaniel's scheme per se.
I like both options I like any option that's not Bradley Bozeman. And listen, I'm not trying to, hey, Jessica Carey, appreciate you. Go, yeah, she's like, get him out. Yeah, get him out. Everybody's ready to get him out. I'm pretty sure his wife is pretty ready for him to get the fuck out of there too. Chargers fans, the Bolt fam, they've maybe rightfully so, maybe a little too aggressive too, but they've been pretty upset about Bozeman. It was one of those weird things where, again, we talked about a little earlier in the show. I've never seen the fan base agree on anything like they did about the interior offensive line. It's got to change. And then Joe Ortiz was like, 11 wins, Pop. That's pretty good, right?
Still
When
drives me insane to this day.
here, it's like Bozeman came back, and so did Zion. Now, Zion played better than people would like to admit, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Let's go to the next interior offensive line disaster, Mekhi Becton.
Goodbye.
360 pounds of mess.
Soft.
Yeah, soft mess. Soft serve ice cream.
Yeah.
Jessica's with us again. Taylor, how easy, because of the way the contract was drawn up, especially will it be for the Chargers and the Bolt fam to say, peace out, Mekhi.
Good riddance. Go back to Philly. The Mekhi Becton experiment.
Go home.
I don't care.
Here.
Take your Joker memes and go. Useless.
The Joker memes. Man, he loved that on the gram, didn't he?
Every game, before every game, the stupid Joker memes he would post on the stories. And then he knew that the fan base was going to go after him, so he limited all of his comments on his Instagram. He shuts off his comments because he knows that Charger fans are ready to go for him.
We can do the Becton thing forever. I will say this. Speaking of how much I love Amari and Hampton going into the draft and him being my favorite player, I was just as loud about I want nothing to do with the Mekhi Becton experience. Nobody listened then, and that's okay. Silent W's are still W's. Unheard W's are still W's.
I will say this: if I know we talk about PFF grades and one piece of the puzzle, but PFF has him graded at a 35.7 for 2025. His grade last year with the Eagles was a 75.3.
Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson,
yeah, 1,000,000%,
Dickerson.
1,000,000%.
I mean, when you play with an all-pro offensive line, so to speak, they mask a lot of your deficiencies. When he didn't have that. And you know what, actually, while we're on the Becton subject, you know what pisses me off the most about him, actually? It's the way that he kind of, after the season was over, went after the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't really understand what we were doing. I didn't, dude, motherfucker, you left games early all of the time.
Yeah, he couldn't stay on the field. And I think it wasn't after the season either. It was still during the regular season that he had those comments to Chris Ream. It's like, why would you do that? Yeah. It wasn't after the Patriots game. This came out, I think, a couple weeks after the Jacksonville game. He made those comments to Chris Ream, and I don't understand what he was thinking. Maybe trying to save face because he knows he's out the door, but to blame anyone but yourself is lame and tells a lot about your character.
Man, so when I think of it from that perspective, I'm even more infuriated. I'll just say this. Becton was given an incredible opportunity, and maybe he was salivating at the fact that he had Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, especially Joe Alt on his right. And the lack of effort stuff that I've heard from behind closed doors, maybe that shit's true too. Because if he's just worrying about fucking Joker memes and all this bullshit on the gram and whatever, we all saw enough of him being completely incapable of picking up a son. It wasn't just Bozeman, by the way, though Bozeman, man, he was watching the tape. You might as well put your own teeth out and just figure it out on your own. It's a bad thing. But I can't stick to the interior offensive line for too long because then we're just beating a drum. It's a dead horse, so to speak, as well. I think it's time, and you would agree, I'm assuming, and this is not to lead her into it. It's only because we talked about it in the pre-show. Sorry, Godzilla's on the TV over here, so I'm feeling dominated in the background. J.K. Scott. Too many, but he had the great game where he had the 7 punts where he was averaging 50.7 a punt. It was 3 games before the end of the season. And then when it counts, he just seems to fold under the pressure. Is it time to move on from Scott? And I'm not suggesting you have to have any anybody to replace him because punters are hard to come by right
Yeah.
now. But it's the time to move on from him. But let's also keep in mind the importance of him as a holder.
Yeah. I think the Chargers will evaluate what the free agency market looks like at the punter position. But I wouldn't bet on them moving away from J.K. Scott. I mean, Harbaugh talks about him. He talks very highly about him. He saved a couple holds this year, especially with Rick Lovato in as a backup snapper. So I wouldn't be too keen of the Chargers moving on from J.K. Scott. But, I think that the front office is going to evaluate all the positions, probably besides quarterback, to get better at.
Well, and not starting quarterback, but they're
No,
going to
yeah.
put a
Yeah.
back quarterback.
Yeah.
No,
You're right.
honestly, I'm so funny. It's so funny you said it that way because it gives me the opportunity to say this. I'm excited to see what they do behind Justin Herbert because it's not going to be Trey Lance.
No.
Obviously, we're years removed from Easton Stick. DJ Uiagalelei, I'm not sure that he's going to stick around.
He's interesting because, undrafted rookie free agent signing, and he's just kind of hung around and, he got elevated week 18 as the backup quarterback. So I don't know what Harbaugh sees in him. He was a 5-star recruit at a high school, but he just continues to hang around. So I don't know if they're going to make him a backup next year. I think they should look at their other options, but he's an interesting one because he's just kind of hung around the entire season.
And we'll see how long that happens for the off season. But ironically enough, and we'll skip ahead of one player, Jessica, thank you so much for participating in the chat. We had somebody else in front of this guy, but Will Dissly as well. He's not just a cut candidate. He's somebody that we're not sure how he would even fit into a Mike McDaniel offense. I would assume that you would agree that his time is done.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at last year, how many games he didn't play?
While he was a healthy scratch.
Yes. Yeah, so I think the Chargers move on there, save some cap space as well. And Mike McDaniel's going to get his type of tight ends in the room. I think Gadsden's going to have a fantastic year next year as well. I'm super excited to see him play.
I know, man. Y'all love these wide slots. I'm just too old. I like an old school tight end. I like a tight end that can block and actually catch the ball. But that being said, in a Mike McDaniel offense, a Will Dissly does not make any sense. Not even as a fullback.
Yep.
McDaniel fullbacks are about 235, 240 pounds tops. Charger fullbacks are Scott Matlock. So, by the way, I wouldn't expect him to be back. The last person on this list, Bud Dupree. Veteran presence. Everybody was not excited. People understood the signing, I think is the best way to say it. I was glad that he was signed because I loved what I thought he would bring as far as being a run stopper because it's something he excelled at.
Mm-hmm.
He forgot how to do that. And now it's time to move on.
Yep. I agree. I think the Chargers move on from him as well. Get a little bit younger, too. I think he had 1 sack last year, the last time I checked. So I think Charger fans will be happy that he's no longer a Charger and they move on to other options there.
So edge rusher is something that obviously the Chargers and their fans are going to be looking at no matter what happens. You have Thule coming into his own. Mm-hmm. Odafe was an incredible ad there. Obviously, he was traded for the Alohi crew favorite, Alohi Gilman. And I know that Ravens fans at first hated him, and then he ended up having a pretty decent season over there. But that being said, the season of Odafe for the Chargers was something that is about to earn him an incredible contract. You look at Odafe and you look at the priority free agent signings that the Chargers have or that they may consider to be on the top of their list. Where would you rank Odafe when it comes to the priorities in which the Chargers are going to try to address the needs on their team?
I think he's number 1. If you take a look at who's a free agent on the Chargers, he has to be your number 1 priority. You traded for him. He had a phenomenal year coming over to the Chargers. He performed with the during the wild card game. He had 3 sacks against the Patriots. So I think if you're talking just about Chargers free agents, he has to be number 1 on the list.
Here's why I like him, because he was given up on in Baltimore,
Yeah.
and then he comes over to the exact same, I mean, not exact, sorry, but a very similar system, obviously, and under two brothers. And there's a lot of similarities there with the things that they expect out of their players, regardless of who their coordinators are, especially now that we know how much Jim Harbaugh is in control of literally everything on that
Yep.
team. Joe Ortiz, he is so lonely, that bald little man. But anyway, it's cool to see that he has a role here as well. We're still talking about edge. Jessica put in the comments, I like TJ Parker. TJ Parker out of Clemson. Here's the deal. PJ Parker was looked at as somebody who was almost a surefire top 10 pick for, it was all of the last season prior to this one. And then this season played out, and the entire Clemson defensive line kind of shit the bed. Peter Woods still probably going to be in the top 15. DeMonte Capehart, I don't know where he's going to be taken. Then you look at TJ Parker, though. Shows up at the Senior Bowl and he beats the shit out of a lot of dudes, and he has a great week there from everybody I talked to. Anybody who was watching what he had or watching what he did out there had nothing but positive things to say about him. So, Jessica, I will say this. It's tough for me to have the Chargers sit at 22 at all, no matter who they want to take, unless it's Vega Ioane, the guard out of Penn State. But if they do sit at 22 and they do take a pass rusher, I would hope it would be TJ Parker. But that being said, if Ioane is not there, the guard from Penn State, I expect the Chargers to trade down.
Yeah, I've seen some mock drafts where they have him going to Baltimore in the top 15. So I don't think he's going to last.
14. The Cowboys pick at 12. The Steelers are right before them. Everybody wants to put Ty Simpson to the Steelers. I don't expect that to be the selection for the Steelers. I'm not sure that Mike McCarthy is going to hitch his wagon on a rookie out of Alabama, but I think he's the perfect fit, by the way, as the head coach in Pittsburgh for all the reasons.
Yep.
Dad owns the bar down the road. I mean, all that shit. I mean, it makes sense, and everybody's acting like it's this weird cryptic thing. And come on, man. I'm not suggesting it's going to be great. And for all those Packers fans out there and the in-between Cowboys fans, I'm sorry for y'all. What y'all had to put up with. You guys had CeeDee Lamb and Pickens, and you just couldn't. Anyway, couldn't figure it out. It was probably the defense. I'm sure. Don't come at. Well, you can come after us. We don't give a fuck. I think we covered everybody that we want to cut, but also, let's talk about somebody that everybody else wants to keep that maybe you and I want to cut. Veteran pass rusher who was drafted by the Raiders, had some incredible years with the Bears, and now, if he were to be re-signed, would be going into his 5th year with the Chargers, Khalil Mack. What do we do about Khalil Mack? And if he wants to play football again, he has his choice of Minner's defense or Minner's defense with Chris O'Leary, or retiring, or whoever wants to take him. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have said that I don't want Khalil Mack back, and the reason why is that he's just going to want too much money for what level he's producing at right now. By the way, this isn't Herbie. This is me.
It's not Herbert. It's her.
I just had on a Herbert jersey, but it's pretty cool. I'll take it.
Hey, hold on. That's ML Bolts, man. That's Matt Letioff. He saw the 10 and he just saw the big hair and he's like, that must have been from the COVID year.
It says Electric Edge on the back, so that's pretty cool. I got it custom made.
Hey, rock roll 60. Hey, that's Rudy. He produces. Bring him back.
Yeah, he had 6 sacks on the year.
Hold on. Thank you so much. So Taylor nailed it. He does produce, and he had an 86.4 overall grade via PFF. For those of you who give a shit about that, he did play better than the box score would tell you. But what I will say is, for Tuli Tuipulotu to have his best opportunity to grow, he's got to have somebody on the opposite side of him who can really get after the passer as well. This can't be one of those things where the Chargers offset one pass rusher with a mediocre one on the other side. I liked Morgan Fox for a minute, but we can't do that again. This is not a Brandon Staley defense. This is a Chris O'Leary defense, and I'm really excited to see how that transpires and what that looks like. Matt, no need to apologize, brother. We love you.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Actually, it was kind of funny because her hair looks exactly like that right now, and he's like, "Oh, Gray Herbert."
Yeah. You know, fun fact, my hair used to be like halfway down my back, and then I decided I wanted to cut it in May of last year. Now I'm growing it back out again.
Random fun fact. My hair used to be down to my shoulders, and then I got an A-. And my dad said, your teachers gave you an A- because they don't take you seriously because of your hair. And he fucking buzzed it all off. Swear to God. Horrible situation. Here's a tough one because we've got some real hardcore. We got Richie in here. We got Rudy. We obviously have Matt Lady off, and we're just playing with you, Matt. You know that. Jessica is all in favor of keeping Khalil. I don't know. The price would have to be very right for me.
Yeah, so it has to be a team-friendly deal.
It'd have to be very right for me. Let's make it really difficult and piss some people. Oh, you should have seen my mullet, David Shaw. When Shaw's in the chat, the chat's just better. We love y'all in the chat. Shaw, thank you so much. Taylor, here's the one. We're going to piss them all off. Well, no, I don't think that you will. I'm going to. Tony Jefferson, go.
I want him back. I think a 2-year deal. I mean, I think he's my age. I think he's 32. So he's an old man by NFL standards. But he had a phenomenal year last year. He's a leader in that locker room. He wants to be back with the Chargers. San Diego guy. So I'm all for bringing him back, and he's gonna have a team friendly deal as well. So get that veteran presence in the locker room again, and all the players seem to love him.
So all the players love him, as I'm highlighting here. All the fans love him. Here's where I rain on your parade. All of your parades. What's to say that Jesse Minter doesn't say, get your ass over here to Baltimore?
So I think that's definitely a possibility. But does he want to go back to Baltimore?
Well, sadly, I don't have him on speed dial, so I'm not going to be able to answer that right now. But if I could, I would say this. I know that he loves and respects the Chris O'Leary hire because you pointed it out, and he was so vocal about it on social media. So my hope is that he does stay. What I will say is they really like RJ Mickens.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A lot.
Yep.
Obviously, Elijah Molden is still under contract. Derwin James is listed as a safety, but he's playing in the slot. Again, all-pro second-team slot corner. Hard to say what happens with the safety spot. Bud Clark out of TCU. There's some options there. You're not going to find a Nick Eamon-Wari like the Seahawks found, who happened to be playing in the Super Bowl. But there are some options at safety that I think are a little bit exciting if the Chargers were to pursue that route. That being said, I expect Minter to kind of pilfer Tony Jefferson from the Chargers, and it just kind of be like, oh no, nobody saw that coming. And we're not sneaky here. We're not trying to be first here. Good Lord, I'm 47 years old, going on 87 years old. Let's move on to the next one, Taylor. And this one's not as controversial. Actually, it probably is. After the Chargers declined picking up the 5th-year option of Zion Johnson, he outperformed everybody that was available anyway on the Chargers offensive line in 25. Do you expect him to stay a Charger? Because I'll tell you right now, if you want him to be a Charger, they have to sign him way before it becomes a bidding war, or the price tag gets so high it's ridiculous, and then it just doesn't make sense. But do you expect him to be re-signed, and what type of price tag do you expect?
Well, I think for one, Harbaugh and Ortiz really like Zion. In all the press conferences I listen to when he comes up, Harbaugh talks extremely highly of him. Think he's super intelligent. I know there was the talk last year of possibly moving him to center. And the other thing with him is that he's extremely durable. The Chargers social media team had put out, I want to say maybe a month or two ago, a video of him of like his post game ritual and like what he does to get ready for practice and just all the time and effort he puts in to stay healthy on the field, especially with the injuries that we've had on this offensive line. Like that speaks volumes. He didn't get injured once this year. I think though the price tag may be a little out of the Chargers range if he does hit the open market. As I've said on this show, and I think on my show too, if the price is right, bring him back. You're going to have Slater. You're going to have Alt back. They're going to fix the other piece of that interior as well. And maybe it's, I don't want to put this juju on him, but like a Becton situation where you got all the good pieces around you, it only elevates you.
I don't think that's bad juju. Honestly, it's like, okay, so Zion, you're Zion, but you're gonna have Rashawn Slater here. You're gonna have Joe Alt over here. You're gonna have Iwane or Vega Iwane here, and then oh god, there are so many. Connor Liu, Bryce Foster, I don't like as much. Logan Jones,
but Slaughter out of Florida.
Ryan Parker is who I really like, but we'll save that for a draft show. I don't want to do that too much. What did I leave out? Oh, here's one. Why doesn't Tarheeb still get enough pub? And the easy answer is because he doesn't get enough interceptions. But he had a phenomenal season for the Chargers. I know Dante Jackson got some love.
Yep.
We loved seeing that, didn't we? Yep. But Tarheeb still, he's just not getting the love he deserves because he didn't have 4 picks this season after a rookie campaign that featured 4 interceptions. But I think that here on BoltBlitz Uncut, we want to make sure that he knows how much we appreciate him.
Yeah, I mean, he had another great year. I think PFF has his grade this year at 69.2. His coverage grade was 70, which was good for 28 out of 114 corners. But yeah, to your point, no interceptions this year. Last year's rookie year, he had 4 total pressures this year. He was ranked 6th out of 114 corners with 7. Another stud find for Joe Ortiz in the later rounds of the drafts last year. So, I think that he's a great corner and he's only going to get better from here.
I'm excited to see him. And listen, anybody who's been paying attention for a little bit of time, they know how in favor I was of the Cam Hart drafting. He did have a little bit of a rough year. He got picked on a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
I'm still excited to see what he can do. But one of the things I want to caution Charger fans with is that please expect that cornerback is a position that could be addressed as long as the Chargers find a way, Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh, as it is, the general managers, plural, of the team, as long as they find a way to manufacture a couple more picks in there. Let's do this. And I love to put you on the spot. Chances of the Chargers only having 5 picks on draft day. Let's do yes or no, just simple.
No. I think Joe Ortiz
find a way to get more.
Yeah. I think Joe Ortiz values the draft way too much and he'll find creative ways to add picks this year. And to your point, if their guy isn't there at 22nd, I can see them trading out of the first round and loading up. So,
and maybe they wanted to trade back last year, didn't do so. Hopefully they learn from that. If that's the case, if their guy is not there, we've talked about the Cowboys at 12. We've talked about the Ravens at 14. There are a lot of teams that could take a guy like Olaiva Vega Iwane out of Penn State. Sorry, we'll just call him Vega Iwane from now on. But should that be the case, and that is their guy, I would hope to see them trade back and accumulate more picks because it sounds like a good spot for somebody to trade up for one of these wide receivers, perhaps one of these defensive tackles that I hope don't slip into the first round that I need to slide into the second so the Chargers can get a little interior defensive help. What is your love for mock drafts, Taylor? Because we've never talked about this. And how often do you put out mock drafts?
I think I've put out 1, and that was probably back in November when I was really pissed off after the Jacksonville game.
A 35-6 drubbing. I can't imagine why.
I think I've done a couple since then on PFF, but it's something that I definitely need to dive in more and evaluate. And I think that regardless in the first 2 rounds, whether the Chargers do draft out of the first round, I think they're going to go either offensive or defensive line with whatever first pick they do have.
It's one of those things where the old heads like me are constantly talking about the game is built and won in the trenches. It's fucking true right now for this Chargers team moving forward. And it's not a shot at Tierra Tart, whom they just paid a boatload of money. It's that there were teams that found a way to shoot that A and B gap, even though Tart was there and healthy. Though Tart had an incredible first 4 to 5 weeks. It was something great. And I think he was, again, the top rated DT via PFF and several other organizations as well. But then he kind of fell off, and teams found a way to kind of work against what he could do, especially when there were injuries around him. But obviously the Chargers' interior offensive line needs to be all the way fixed. Figure it out. Zion Johnson comes back. You're probably right. They need to do it now, though. Please do not wait. Do not let that price tag escalate. I think that would be a huge, huge issue.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about it now, and I bet you Friday gets announced that they've agreed to an extension. We're putting it out in the universe, and magically it happens.
Yes. Whatever. Like, just get it done. The sooner that they get all these things done, and makes sense of me doing a mock draft at all, because we haven't even hit free agency.
Yeah.
And I'm out here putting mock drafts on this, on that. Like, I'm on like 5 different mock draft apps. It's really bad. I'm addicted. Just,
Yeah.
It's my only vice is mock drafts.
I think all the 3 that I've done, every single one I've took an offensive lineman in the first round. So, and then I think I told you about one I did where I was trying to trade the first pick with, I think, Jacksonville, and PFF kept saying, "Oh, Jacksonville doesn't want your pick," even though they don't have a first round pick this year. I'm like, what?
On every other, I promise you, on every other draft app, Jacksonville always tries to trade to 22.
Yeah, I don't know what PFF's deal is, but they would not let me trade that pick to Jacksonville. I think it went to Pittsburgh when I did it.
Yeah, well, Pittsburgh doesn't have a first round draft pick either, at least right now. For those of you who are mock draft aficionados and you're trying to draft for your Chargers, look for those teams that don't have first round picks. See what they may be willing to give up, or what they have available to give up when it comes to allowing the Chargers to slide back a little bit, should they not have the player there that they're willing to add to their roster. Man, we stretched 40 minutes out of this, Taylor. I'm so proud of you. We did so good.
This is great.
You. Yeah, great. Thank you. I'm so glad you corrected me. As Taylor is always negligent to say, she's also the host of the Electric Edge podcast. She's on my show. And I'm like, I can't interrupt her every time to say the Electric Edge podcast. But she's also the host of the Electric Edge podcast. If you have yet to like and subscribe, please do so right away, right now. She's quick. She's concise. She does a little less blathering and bullshit like I do. And it's a great show. If you guys haven't checked it out, please do so. She's not just a producer here. She's obviously a co-host. But tell everybody, not just where they can find you on this show, but where they can find you everywhere else. Where else, please?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to listen to Electric Edge Podcast, search it on YouTube. I'm also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Search Electric Edge Podcast, and you can tune in. As far as socials, on X, TikTok, and Instagram, you can find me at Electric Edge Pod. And then on, as Booga likes to refer to it, the old app on Facebook, you could search Taylor Bloom, and you will see me on stage at the Chargers fan rally like this with my Herbert jersey. That is me. So
I was so happy for you, by the way. I was so glad you brought that up. You set me up so incredibly well all the time, but right now especially, because we haven't talked about this yet. So Taylor goes to this fan rally.
Yeah, so I flew in.
A Meta Ray whatever's on.
Yeah, so I flew in that day. It started, I think, 6:00. So I took a flight out of Vegas at like 1:30, got into LA, checked in at the hotel, and then walked to the Bolt, which was probably like 1.5 miles from the hotel I was at. So fan rally was really cool. They had some Kasim Osgood was there. They had food trucks. You could buy apparel that you can only get at SoFi, but they were doing some like questions, some trivia, and they asked a question, and they're like, this one's for the ladies. And the first question was, who led the Chargers this year in receiving touchdowns? So I'm screaming, QJ, it's QJ. So, and I always wear my Meta glasses when I go to games, because I'll record content while I'm sitting there watching, and it's a lot easier for me to record than trying to hold up my phone or camera. So as soon as I walk up on stage, I hit record, and then Danny Hoyt, who does the in-game like announcing at SoFi, he was there kind of emceeing everything. So he's like, "Are you recording this right now?" I'm like, "Yeah." So the video's up on my X if you want to see it, but the question I got was, name all of the receivers that caught a touchdown this year for the Chargers. I think there was a total of 9, and I had to get 7 right to win some Sony headphones. And I just went right down the list. I'm like, it helps that I talk about this stuff on a weekly basis.
If I had I was going to do the bottle thing from the Warriors, but I forgot the guy who did that lost in the movie. My bad. No, that's incredible. I didn't know what I haven't even talked to you about that.
Yeah, it was
no
really
idea
cool.
what happened.
I was more excited that I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be on the Chargers website with like all my gear on, my tights that I wear that match the uniforms. I'm like, this is awesome. And then when I walk off stage, Kasim Osgood is standing there, and he's like, hey, he's like, you have a pod, like he said to someone, hey, she has a podcast. So we chatted for a minute or two, and we took a picture, and that's also on the Chargers website too. So I was
Kasim is
so
cool as hell. He's such a great dude.
Yeah. So I've had a couple really cool experiences this year between that, and then during the Eagles game, I got those golden tickets with Antonio Gates. Like I was so emotional there. So
yeah, and respectfully so to speak, and rightfully so. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, I was having a rough day. That day anyway, it was a Monday night game, and like my knee swelled up to a softball, so like I couldn't really walk anywhere. So like when I was handing golden tickets, I just was so emotional.
We call that a Tuesday over here for me. Fucking negative 4 degrees. This is bullshit. Well, Taylor, then I think this was a fun show.
This was great.
What I don't like is we don't get to do anything as far as knowing what's going to happen about the draft for about, I don't know, about 2 months and 3 weeks. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, I don't even care about the Super Bowl on Sunday. Like
it's weird, isn't it, though? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, last year I was like, I didn't want to see Kansas City win, obviously. I'm like, I'm not going to watch, and then of course I watched. I'll probably do the same this year, say I don't want to watch, but I'll watch because, well, you can't not watch. But I'm just ready for free agency to hit, the draft to hit, mini camps to hit, into training camp. Like I am all in on 2026. Like I'm going to go out there for a week and sit at training camp.
Hopefully it's under the guise of us being in there as members, because we're working on all that. Come on now, y'all.
Fingers crossed.
Y'all know who BoltBlitz used to be. We can be there again because we should be there again. I will say this: if there's anything I can do within my power to make sure that happens, that will be the case. What I love is you already touched on it, and I think you were one of the first people I saw on any social media platform to talk about. Can we just start the 2026 season already? Can we get there already, please? No, we can't. We're none of us are fired up unless you're a Patriots or a Seahawks fan for the Super Bowl. I hope your squares hit for everybody who's playing squares. I don't do that shit anymore because y'all are a little shady with those. Squares. I don't like throwing money away for no reason unless it's to a server or a bartender, if I'm being completely fucking honest, or the people who deliver the groceries, whatever, or even load my groceries. Anyway, we already talked about where they can find you. You guys can find me at Booga Peters on all my socials, or the Old People app. You left out the people part. You said the old app.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're the Old People app, Taylor.
People app.
Old people.
I'm becoming one of those old people, so I understand.
No,
I understand.
your body feels like it because you're trying to catch up to me in surgery. Do that. That's a horrible choice. But for those of you who have had a lot of surgeries, this is your place to go for those who can empathize and understand what you've been through and how hard it is when you hear these goofy ass fans talk to these players about, you got to be back as soon as it was your 4-week update. I'm telling you, surgeries and injuries don't work like that.
I wish they did. I wish it was like, remember, have you ever watched Star Trek when like Dr. McCoy like would scan someone and like it was automatically healed? Like I wish.
Not doing sci-fi right now in front of all these nice people. We'll talk for 2 hours. See, I'm a little nerdier than anybody wants to know. Everybody thinks I'm just football and fighting and beer and the other things that I used to be into when I was just fresh out of my divorce. But what I would like to end the show with is this. Monday, 8 p.m., Burt Grossman, former Chargers defensive lineman. Taylor Bloom right here. She's our producer no matter what day it is. And then she's obviously our Wednesday co-host, my boy John Kegley. For those of you who are not here for the 7-hour stream, it was a doozy. It was fun. I missed the co-host who's no longer here with us due to his exclusion from being a part of us. But that being said, Kegley is long overdue. I've been talking to this guy for not quite as long as I've been talking to Burt about being a part of this team, but Kegley is an incredible historian of the Chargers, of course, the Los Angeles and especially San Diego Chargers. What he brings to the table is not just his historian-like knowledge, but he's also quick, he's witty, and he's somebody that I cherish as not only a friend, but somebody who's a valued asset of this team. He couldn't do too much to get kicked out of here, so I look forward to him being here. And if you haven't paid attention to what he has to say, he also does some shit on Lightning in a Keg on Facebook where he chases storms because he's insane. He goes after tornadoes in lightning and weird shit. Yeah, man, he's one of them crazy cats, and I love him. I couldn't love him any less. It's not how I'm wired. I am who I am, and I hope that you guys check him out. And then we have my boy that we talked about earlier, Matt Ladioff, who's ML Collectibles. You can find him on the San Diego Chargers Lovers page every Monday and the BoltBlitz Uncut page every Monday. He's got some of the best collectibles out there. And then, of course, our formerly advertised, if you will, Rudy El Cargador Flores. He will be putting his shit out there to sell as well. If you did not watch the walkthrough video of his home with all the jerseys and memorabilia, you are missing out. This is where I sign out because clearly Dave's had a little too much fun tonight. Taylor, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
Thank you to all the Bolt fam, Jessica, David Shaw, Rudy. I believe we also had Rudy, and then we had Rudy and Jessica. So that was awesome. Thank you for everybody who showed up. I'm Booga Peters. This is where I leave. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in to BoltBlitz Uncut. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're out now. Peace.